why do I keep hitting behind the ball? Like these are like all over the social media. You see someone that gets up there, they take like a minute, like waggling, and then they chunk
and then
it.
they hit a foot behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do people do that so often?
Again, some of the instructors I know, we kind of have like this running joke. I talked about Furyk, and then also we have a job because people hit too far behind the ball, not too far in front of the ball. Like in a general like summarization, a lot of what we do is get people to hit the ground more forward. So there's a couple things, and I'll try to make it not super long-winded, but number one is your mass location. So if I move my mass, meaning my shoulders, my hips, all my weight to my back foot, and then I don't get it back forward, well, the more I move back, the more I'm sort of programming where I hit the ground to be too far back. Okay. So the first step is usually like, hey, let's make sure we're not moving too far off the ball in the backswing. Okay. So that's number one. And if that's you, super simple drill is to like put your golf bag right by your trail hip and just turn away from it. Don't let yourself bump into it. That's the most common thing I see, is like a sway or a slide away from the target. And some pros can do that. People will point at a pro that slides and they'll say, well, he can do it. And I'm like, well, he hits 1,000 balls a week. You come out twice a week after work. And that's the whole point. If you slide far away, you also need to slide far forward, and timing that can get difficult. So that's number one. Number two is shaft lean. So when I have a shot that I'm trying to hit off the ground, ideally I hit that shot with the club leaning forward and not back. And the reason for that is that directly influences where I'm about to hit the ground. It's really hard to have your hands back and then just sort of chop down and hit in front of the ball. And we could talk about how to get shaft lean. I think that might be one of the other questions you mentioned. Am I right on that? Otherwise I can touch on shaft lean.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead and hit on it. I don't see a shaft lean.
Well, so shaft lean is a couple different components, but the most common reason people don't have shaft lean, like I mentioned in the other guy's case, is that the club face is too open. And so when the club face is too open, to square it, if you lean the handle back, you can actually get it to look straight, but it's got a ton of loft. It's going to go super high. So while that works, if the ball's kind of teed up in the rough, so if you really like hitting off the rough when it's teed up nice and high, this might be you. But leaving the handle backwards, it does get the face to square if it's too open, but it also, like, it's so hard to control where you hit the ground. So getting the handle to lean forward usually involves closing the face sooner. And you can do that through grip, through some wrist mechanics. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. So mass location, shaft lean, and the last thing, I guess there's kind of two more, rotation. So the more open I am with my chest and my hips, the easier it is to hit more in front of the ball. So I like to tell people, think of your sternum having a flashlight. Wherever it points as you hit the ball, that's kind of where you might hit the ground. It gives you a good predictor. And then the last thing I say is intent. So it kind of ties back to skill, but like if I had a line on the ground and I had $1 million on the forward side and you owe me $1 million on the backside, I promise, like whoever it is, they would figure out how to hit in front, right? So intent plays a large role, and really all that does is it organizes your joints and your movement to absolutely ensure you do what you're trying to do. So there's some give and take there. You could do some other things poorly, but I promise you'll hit the ground in front. So best drill for that, take a tee and lightly scratch it into the dirt, set the ball right on the line, make 3 practice swings, taking a small divot in front of the line, and then step up to the ball and try to recreate the feel. That's the simplest one, and it's perfect. And if you're in a bunker, you can do the same thing if it's a practice bunker, and you can take little practice swings and just note where your club hits the sand. I'm serious. We have jobs because people hit too far behind.